Hey everybody, welcome to Author Show Board Game Reviews. This is a YouTube channel dedicated to the tabletop gaming hobby, and this is a video part of a video series looking at the game City of the Great Machine. Now, City of the Great Machine is a hidden movement, team-based game where one player is going to control the Great Machine, which its only objective is to bring about its great plan, its master plan, which is basically to reprogram all the human race. While the other team, containing 1 to 3 players, making this a 2 to 4 player game, is going to control the rebels. Now, the rebels are trying to bring about the rebellion, let the people know that the future the Great Machine wants is not a great future for humanity, and they're trying to start riots across the city that Great Machine has started. So it's basically a race between our two teams. Can the Great Machine get its master plan into effect before the riots can occur? Or can our heroes, our rebels, create the grand third riot to go ahead and free the people from the regime of the evil Great Machine? Well, that's this hidden movement, team-based game. Now, this is a video. It's just going to be a quick overview of exactly how the game plays. If you want to see a sample gameplay, learn how to play the game, or actually see a review of the game, check out the videos in the series. Come on back after the break for a quick overview of exactly what City of the Great Machine happens to be. Now, before we go anywhere, understand this video is based on a prototype version of the game, but this should give you a really good idea of what the game is going to look like when it finally releases. But the basic idea of the City of the Great Machine is this is a team-based, hidden movement game, asymmetric, where one player is going to control the Great Machine. Now, the objective of the Great Machine is all they're trying to do is bring out the master plan, which is tracked by this track right here. Their master plan ever gets to level 12, they instantly win the game, while the other team is controlled by anywhere from 1 to 3 players, and they are the rebels. The only objective of the rebels is to create 3 riots in the city. Once they create the third riot in the city, whether it's these riot tokens right here, or whether they bring the descent track all the way up to the max level and create the third riot that way, if the rebels manage to do that, they are going to win the game. Now, this game has a very asymmetric feel, and both the sides do play very, very differently. The Great Machine is playing more of a stalling game because if they can stall the game long enough, they're pretty much guaranteed to win because the game is going to play out every single round, and every single round is going to start out with a city event. Now, these city events are going to make every single round play out differently. They're going to give different abilities and different restrictions to both the teams. But the most important thing is they're going to describe just how exactly the Great Machine is going to score points towards their master plan every single turn. The Great Machine can manage to accomplish this by either accomplishing the master plan from the city event that occurs every single turn, or if they can land raids in various different areas where their heroes happen to be taking their actions, they're also going to get points towards their master plan. Remember, that track gets level 12, they are going to instantly win the game. But I also mentioned that the Great Machine is also playing a stalling game because there's only 13 cards in a stack. And if the 13th card is ever revealed, you're going to see the 13th card. It creates a major countdown for the heroes. And at this point, the time pressure is really on. If the heroes cannot win the game, when this 13th card comes out, there's a good chance they're eventually going to lose the game just because the Great Machine just needs to stall the game long enough to get to that point. But don't think the Great Machine has to play a very passive game because they can definitely play very aggressively and go out there and start these raids in various parts of the city. And if they succeed in these raids, they're also going to work on completing their master plan. But don't despair for our heroes because our heroes are just trying to start a riot in the city and create that third riot to win the game instantly. And the way riots are going to work is they're going to go out there and they're going to investigate these various major famous citizens. Now, these major famous citizens can have a value of anywhere from 1 to 5. And these major citizens are going to join the rebellion as long as the descent track has reached a certain level, because the descent track is going to go up based on the actions of the heroes. And you're going to see that there's a level in every single one of these sections of the descent track, anywhere from 1 all the way up to level 5. And that represents the famous citizens who are willing to join the rebellion, because the lower level citizens are part of the dregs of society. They don't like the way society is going right now anyways, while the higher level, the level 5s, are the nobles. They're very much enjoying their luxurious lifestyle. They're not ready to join that rebellion just yet. The important thing, though, for our heroes to create the riots in the various different sections of the city is what they are required to do to create these riots is they need to figure out what levels of famous citizens are in every single section, where it happens to be a level 1 famous citizen, or it happens to be a level 5 famous citizen, or be very, very careful because there's also traitors mixed in this grand amount of city of all these famous citizens. But if you can create enough of a riot by having enough people willing to join your cause because your amount of level on the descent track is equal to the amount of the level of the famous citizens, you're going to create a riot in that area. But if you fail to create a riot, then you're going to start giving knowledge to the Great Machine because they're going to know where the famous citizens are, making it much, much harder for you to create these riots because the Great Machine can also start arresting these famous citizens. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because let me explain how that game actually goes. Every single round is going to start with the first thing that's going to happen is that city event like I described earlier. After the city event occurs, all the heroes get a chance to look at their hand of cards, and they're going to use these hand of cards to decide where they're going to activate on the turn. This is the hidden movement aspects of the game, and various different locations allow them to do different actions, such as going to minor districts where they create dissent, or going to major districts where every single of these major districts has a various different effect that only can be formed in that major area. On top of that, unbeknownst to the Great Machine, every one of our heroes is hindered in locations they can go because at the start of the game, they had to give up one of their access cards denoting one of the locations that they can go to. So you have a little bit of a cat and mouse game because the heroes are doing actions, and the Great Machine doesn't know if the heroes are going to those locations because they can't, or they're not going to those locations because they can't, or there's something else going on that preventing them from going to those locations because it's part of the strategy, it's part of their tactics. After all the heroes have decided which location that they're going to go to in their turn, and it's mandatory they have to go to those locations, I'll explain why that matters in just a moment here, then the Great Machine gets to activate. And the Great Machine gets to do various different actions, such as using their servants to go around to different locations, do various different actions like repairing robots that have been destroyed by our rebellion, by going to different locations to investigate different things, by taking actions in the various sections of the board, because the Great Machine can also take actions on the various sections of the board, actions including the ability to adjust the exact layout of the board, changing the layout, which can be very, very important because these famous citizens can also be moved to different sections of the board by various actions by our rebels. Another important action, though, for the Great Machine is the act of sending their servants into an area where the rebels may happen to be and starting raids in those areas. If you can land a raid in the area where the rebels happen to be, you're going to advance your master plan. But if you start a raid in a section where the heroes don't go to, you're going to raise the dissent level because the people, the famous citizens of the city, don't appreciate these raids because it interrupts their quality time. And it's the quality time they created by creating the Great Machine in the first place. After the Great Machine performs their actions, then the heroes, the rebels, get to perform their actions. And like I said earlier, the actions of the heroes are mandatory. They have to go to locations that they decided earlier when they're picking their locations where they wanted to go to. But the interesting thing about this game is all the actions in this game use a currency, whether it's the heroes using the currency of trust, or whether it happens to be the Great Machine who is using the currency of bonds. Everybody doing every single one of their actions, every single turn uses up this currency. And every action in this game requires a certain amount of currency, but you're still required to do your action for the heroes. And if you don't have enough of your currency to perform the actions due to various different things that the Great Machine may have done, then you may have to rely on the dice. You may have to rely on the dice, for example, to take out the guards that are making your life more difficult, or you may have to use a die that allows you to move to various different sections because the section you picked is too far available for you. But generally speaking, most of the time you're not going to use the dice, so there's not a lot of randomness in this game because this game, like a lot of hidden movement games, is very tactical and very strategic. You're constantly be doing a lot of actions based on the amount of resources you have, but things may be tripped up because you're always fighting against your opponent, whether you're the heroes trying to stop the Great Machine or you're the Great Machine trying to stop that last third riot. After the heroes perform their actions that they locked in during the earlier hero phase, we're going to go to a closing phase. We're simply going to see what the city card happens to do for the current city event, and then we're going to start the next round with a new city event card. Now, on top of everything I've already shown you, this game is extremely asymmetric because every single time you play the game, you're going to have 3 heroes in the game. Every one of these heroes has different powers, and they play very asymmetrically, giving you different abilities for the heroes, making sure the heroes have a different gameplay every time you play the game. But on top of that, every single time you play the game, you're going to have a deck of directive cards. And these cards are directives for the Great Machine, which is going to give the Great Machine special powers every single time you play the game. Interesting thing about this game is you only can have up to 3 of these cards in play at any single time. And on top of that, another interesting thing is that the heroes can actually break these directives, taking these powers away from the Great Machine. Once one of these directives are broken, they are actually permanently removed from the game. The Great Machine cannot get them back. So that's another level of additional strategy and tactics to the game of how early do you play your directives, how late you play your directives, because some of these directives are great. Well, I'm not going to lie. All of these directives are great all the time. But the trick is you don't want to play them too soon, because if you play them too soon, it puts a big old bullseye on your head. And the heroes are definitely going to break those directives as quickly as they can. And again, once you lose those directives, you lose a little bit of power, and it makes it a little bit harder to win the game. Now, this is just a quick overview of a game that admittedly has a lot of deep strategies and a lot of deep tactics, and it's not going to be able to be covered in a 7-minute video. So if you want to learn how to play the game, see some sample gameplay, or see my actual full review of the game, check out the other videos in the series. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this video series. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I will definitely get to them as quickly as I can. You also feel free to email me at off-the-shelf board game reviews. That's otsbgr@gmail.com. I will definitely answer your email as quickly as I can, If you enjoy this channel, if you enjoy the content I'm putting out there, think about supporting the channel over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/OTSBGR. Just $1 single over in the tip jar can help me cover my costs. But the most important thing, can help me keep bringing content out to you constantly. This channel is 100% sponsor free, which means all the costs and everything comes out of my own personal pocket. So to help me keep bringing out constant content to you, just $1 in that tip jar can make one heck of 100% of a difference for the channel. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this video series, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.